Wow, I forgot to add us. That's funny. I forgot to add us to the stream. Okay, here we go. The music stopped and we weren't there. It's Saturday night.
What's up?
What's up, everybody? It's Saturday night, so you know what that means. It's time for Have a Conversation After Dark. Tell your friends about us. How about that? This is what we ask you to do. If you're watching this now or if you're watching the replay, hit the share button wherever you're watching it and just share it, please.
Yes.
Because this is only as good as the people that are in the comments, truth be told. If you're new to this and you don't know what this is, you've never seen us before, we're Oliver and Denise Marcel, and we're authors, speakers, and coaches. And this particular show is about conversation. Yeah, you may get some advice here and there, but that's not really what it's about. It's really about the fact that we believe that conversation is extremely important.
Right.
Conversation is a catalyst for growth. Conversation is a catalyst for learning each other. Conversation is a catalyst for bonding. We've also noticed that there are several conversations, quite often, when things come up with the individuals that we have the privilege of serving. When we ask them, have they talked about it? Quite often, the answer is, well, no, we've never really talked about it. Why? So that's the point of this whole thing, is conversation. And so tonight, we're not going to be long tonight. I'm going to just put out that disclaimer. We're not going to be long tonight. Today was a longer day for us. So
we have a busy weekend.
And we have a busy weekend, and we got to get up early and the whole nine. However, I just want to see what people have to say about this. So let's see if folk jump in. If they don't jump in, then me and you can kind of talk this through. Yeah. If you saw the title, The title is My Ex-Spouse is Now My Best Friend.
Mm-mm-mm.
Is there anything wrong with that? My ex-spouse is now my best friend. Now, disclaimer, we're gonna you and I are gonna hash this out from the perspective of, not from the perspective of this has happened to us,
Right.
that this is our story, but it would be good to know how your spouse would feel about something like that.
Right.
And even if it's not an ex-spouse, if it's an ex-girlfriend or boyfriend that you are best friends with.
Mm.
Okay. Here's the first question on the table. Would you have a problem with that?
It. I think. I think I might, because I feel like you broke up with your ex spouse or ex girlfriend or boyfriend. For in your case, you broke up with your ex girlfriend
Hmm.
for a reason.
Hmm.
So how is it that you're now best friends? And yeah, you broke up for a reason. So why still the interaction outside of co-parenting, which is not our story, but I'm just saying,
Hmm.
if that were the case.
So you should not be friends with someone you break up with.
I'm not saying not be cordial and not ever speak to them,
Hmm.
but when I think of friends, I think of um particularly, you said best friend, but anyway, regardless,
Yeah, I did that on purpose.
when I think of friends, I think of, you confide sometimes, that person is there for you,
Hmm.
you hang out with your friends.
Hmm.
And I just feel like your ex is your ex for a reason. Keep it that way.
Okay.
That's my
Um.
opinion.
Okay. So, and I'd love to hear what people have to say about this, but there are cases where, and I can't remember the exact story, but I watched a video recently, and I didn't have time to pull it up, but I watched a video recently where, um, and we've seen celebrities where that's the case, right? Where, what's the guy, the black actor who his
Will
ex,
Smith and his family, they do
Will
that.
Smith and his family. There's another black actor whose ex-wife lives with them. I can't think
Mhm.
of his name, but I can see his face. I just can't think of his name.
Swiss Beats and Alicia Keys, they have a good
They just
relationship
I just saw a video about them
with
as well.
his ex.
Right. So so obviously it works.
Obviously it works. Yeah, obviously it works. I just I can't picture it, and maybe I'm thinking of our exes. Not that there's any necessarily bad blood or anything like that, but
Mhm.
I just feel like your ex is your ex for a reason.
Yeah, but that reason might be something that doesn't that reason might be something that keeps you from having a intimate relationship, but not necessarily keep you from having a friendship. There's people that you are friends with that you're like, no, I would never be married to that person.
Mhm.
So that it could have been your ex is a reason because you realize, wow, no way in the world am I trying to build a marriage with this person. But
Mm.
they pretty cool outside of that. And then you begin to form a relationship and you begin to, uh, you know, form a relationship outside of that.
Yeah, but I feel like you um when you were that person's husband or boyfriend, it began as a friendship.
It might not have though. And those of you who are watching, feel free to weigh in.
So
We'll talk
how
amongst
then?
ourselves till somebody weighs in. But so let's look at an example. Let's say there's an example where a lot of relationships start with sex first.
True.
So there was no real friendship. There was this, hey, I like what I see. We had a conversation or two, or maybe we even didn't. Maybe we went out one time and that one time turned into a sexual encounter. And now here we are. We just kind of let that drive us. So you don't even know whether you're friends or not.
Hmm. I don't agree with it still. What about you?
I mean, so I, I'll give two sides of the coin. One side of the coin is that if I'm being 100% honest, if you were married before and you and your ex spouse were best friends, there would probably be, I probably would feel some kind of way just based on maybe the thoughts that I might conjure up or the ideas that I may have.
Yeah.
But the question now becomes the other side of that coin is that insecurity on my part? Like if you're not like let's paint the whole picture. If you're
Mm-hmm.
not cheating, you are not romantically involved, you're not even in a frame of mind where you even look at this guy that
Mm-hmm.
way or think about this guy that way. You're not entertaining any foolishness, even if the guy is thinking some kind of way,
Mm-hmm.
right? So there's you have provided all securities. If I feel some kind of way, am I insecure? Because technically there ain't no reason why you can't be friends
Yeah.
based on what I just said.
I don't know if I'd call it insecure. Well, maybe it is. I don't know.
Could be.
Maybe it is.
Could. Now here's the reason why I feel like couples can need to talk about that though,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because there are couples who may not have an ex spouse, but they're couples who have an ex,
Right.
and then there are couples who have an ex spouse, and I think that that's a conversation that doesn't normally come up.
Right.
I had a client. I don't think you were working with me with this client, but I had a client where that was an issue,
Mm.
where they were friends with the ex, and the way the other spouse described it
Mm-hmm.
felt like insecurity.
Here's the thing. Even if it is insecurity,
Hmm.
if I'm your spouse,
Hmm.
you're supposed to make me feel secure. So whether or not it's insecure security, if
Hmm.
I'm telling you I feel insecure,
Hmm.
then because we want the our relationship to work,
Hmm.
I feel like you should do whatever it takes to make me feel secure.
Okay,
You
so essentially, what you're saying, I should cut this person off
if
if I
that's
need to
how I
make you
feel.
feel secure.
If that's how I feel, then if that's what it's going to take, then that's what would need to happen.
Okay.
Because if our relationship is supposed to be the most important thing,
Hmm.
right? That to me would have to happen. It to me it's the same as infidelity.
Hmm.
The spouse does not leave. The spouse that was the victim or whatever you want to call it of
Hmm.
the infidelity. You decide, the both of you decide to rebuild the relationship.
Hmm.
And for example, say it was you who committed the infidelity, and you're like, I'll do, whatever it takes on my part to rebuild this relationship.
Hmm.
If I said that I needed you to do certain things that you felt like was unnecessary,
Hmm.
you would still have to do those things if you're saying that you would do everything in your power and that was your part to rebuild the relationship.
Okay.
And to me, it's the same thing. If I say, I'm uncomfortable with you having that level of relationship with your ex spouse or ex girlfriend,
Hmm.
then you would have to do whatever, not whatever I say, but whatever it would take to make me feel secure or comfortable.
Hmm.
Whether or not it's insecurity on my part, to me, is insignificant to the relationship.
So let me ask you this based on that. At what point do we now work on your level of insecurity as opposed to me always cutting off somebody?
Maybe
because
there
that could
needs
become a crutch. You
that
could be
could
like, well, I don't feel secure. So so now I'm cutting off everybody.
maybe there needs to be some type of negotiation.
Okay, maybe.
Maybe it needs to be like, if this is a one-time thing, then it's not a crutch. It's not If it's a
Mm-hmm.
one-time thing, it's not a crutch. But if you're noticing a pattern of insecurity,
Mm-hmm.
then maybe that's when negotiation would need to come in. And you should have the type of relationship with your spouse
Mm-hmm.
where you can say to your spouse, I love you. I I want to make sure you're secure. I want to do what it takes for you to be secure. Can we talk about how that looks, because I feel like this insecurity is coming up um often
Mm-hmm.
or frequently. So how can I help you feel more secure all around?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
What can we put in place? What types of negotiate How can we negotiate this? What can I do? Type thing. You should be able to tell your spouse your insecurity is coming up a lot. It's happening
Mm-hmm.
frequently. Is there something we need to talk about? What's going on? Why do you think that's happening? That type of thing. You should be able to talk to your spouse and tell your spouse that your insecurity might be an issue here.
Might be doing a little bit too
How
much.
you might be doing a little bit too much. How can we resolve that? How
Yeah.
can we fix that? How can we help you not be so insecure all around?
That's definitely a conversation that has to happen because, and I'm playing devil's advocate. Like I can't cut off everybody, and maybe I can. I don't know, but is that fair to me? I don't know. What's the answer to that question?
Mhm.
Shout out to Rose in the comments. Said I believe if there
Rose?
are any, yeah, Eddie Rose. If there are any, if there are no children involved, I believe if there are no children involved, friends with an X is a slippery slope.
Mm,
If children are involved, there should be hard parameters set.
I agree
Okay.
with that.
It, and I think we asked this in another question. Is it just the term X? Because what if it's just a regular person, regular female friend or regular guy friend? We don't, does the word X send us to a certain place?
I think it might. I think the word X might. I think eh, I think the word X might send us to a certain place. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
However, if I feel comfortable with any relationship that you have outside of us,
Mm-hmm.
uncomfortable with
Okay.
any relationship outside of us,
Mm-hmm.
then we should be able to come up with whatever we're going to come up with. But to answer your question, yes, I do think that the word
Mm-hmm.
X does something to us.
And the reason why I asked that is because I'm about to say something that I think a lot of guys maybe think but might not say. And it is, I'm going to use myself as an example. If you are friends with your ex,
Hmm.
let's say you were married before and you're friends with this guy and you're really good friends with this guy, I'm thinking, if I'm really keeping it a buck,
Hmm.
I'm like, this dude used to sleep with my wife.
Mm. Do you think that women? I'm trying to think if women think. Yeah, I think women think that too.
And so I think because of that, that will automatically send us to a place where even if nothing is happening, even if
Hmm.
it is the safest relationship on earth,
Hmm.
because in the back of my head, the first thought I had was this dude used to sleep with my wife.
Hmm.
It automatically takes me somewhere different.
Yeah, I think women, if they're honest, think about that too.
Hmm.
I
Okay.
think.
All right. I'm just
Yeah.
curious. I mean, I think these are conversations that often we don't have that we need to have.
Hmm.
Because you and I can attest to this that, and I was telling somebody earlier today, often what we see is people don't begin to address the issue
Hmm.
until they're in the midst of the issue.
Mm.
And at that point, it's too late. You've already got some preconceived well, I'm not going to say it's too late, but at that point, there's a lot of work you got to do to come back from that because
Mm.
you've already developed preconceived ideas. You've already in many cases acted on those preconceived ideas,
Mm.
and that action has created some level of foolishness that you're trying to deal with now,
Yeah.
that you're trying to resolve. So I think you should know, like, at least what the person's thinking. Like, let's say my ex comes back into the picture for one reason or another. How do we handle that? Right.
Hmm.
And being able to talk about that situation. I agree with Rose. It is a slippery slope. It is a slippery slope because you don't always know the person's intentions. And
Mm.
there are going to be cases where it is completely harmless
Yeah.
and you can have a beautiful relationship and all of y'all can be friends and cool and hang out. Then the other side of that spectrum is that somebody's just buying time,
Mm.
waiting in the wings,
Hmm.
being there at a shoulder to cry on when me and you having some type of foolishness going on.
Exactly.
Hey, don't worry about it. Listen, you can always talk to me and
Yep.
all this kind of foolishness
Yeah.
until a moment of weakness happens and they can rush in and save the day.
Yep. I agree. I agree.
So so understanding what you would do, how you would communicate, what are the things you would say, how would you articulate it, how would you handle it, and negotiate, to use your word, I think is important.
Do you think that do you think that we should be able to say to our spouses, well, we should be able to say anything to our spouses, but do you think it's a good idea to say, you used like you this is you talking.
Mhm.
You used to sleep with dude, so I'm not comfortable.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
I think you should be able to say that.
Hmm.
Rose said the level of comfortability that you once shared with your ex will drive to insecurities. We men have a hard time with that. The
The
mind
mind
plays
plays tricks
tricks
on
on you.
you
It's
is
true.
true.
Yeah.
Yep.
And yes, you should be able to go to your spouse and be like, "Hey, listen, I'm not comfortable."
Because y'all used to sleep together.
And it just is what it is. Now, that might be secure insecurity on my part.
Doesn't matter.
And I would say in the beginning it doesn't matter.
What do you mean?
And this is why I say in the beginning it doesn't matter. You if I come to you and I say that to you, I'm uncomfortable with you hanging out with dude because in my mind, I know y'all used to sleep together and I feel some kind of way about that.
Hmm.
Now, in the beginning, it doesn't matter. If I'm uncomfortable, we got to figure it out. But here's I think here's where couples mess up. Where couples mess up is I expect you to make all the adjustments
Mm.
in order to make me feel comfortable.
Right.
There's some onus on me as well
Hmm.
to deal with the insecurity, especially in a case where there ain't nothing going on
Right.
and everything is on the up and up, and it's
Yeah.
just me feeling some kind of way
Hmm.
because I don't want nobody around my wife who used to sleep with her.
Hmm.
Right. So that's something I got to work on, as well as it's something you got to work on. So in the beginning, that's why I say in the beginning it doesn't matter,
Hmm.
because you can have this conversation and then be like, "Hey, listen, what can I do to help you feel comfortable?" And I might be like, I just I don't think you should hang out with him. Now you got to make a decision, man. I got to blow up this friendship
Hmm.
potentially for no reason.
Hmm. I just, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to me.
Okay.
To me, it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't matter. If that's what it takes, that's what it takes.
Mm-hmm.
Because I want you to be right and I want us to
Mm-hmm.
be right. So, whatever that takes,
So
we come first.
and here's the thing, that is phenomenal and that is beautiful.
But you don't think that that's.
And that's a perfect world scenario. That's probably what should happen. But what happens often is you blow up your friendship and you resent me for it.
Mm,
That's what happens a lot.
I don't think
It may
that
not
happens
happen
a
with
lot.
you because you just the wonderful wife that you are.
I just don't
But
think
there are
that it
some
happens a
people
lot.
who will blow up the friendship and feel some kind of way that they had to do that, especially if they didn't have to do it.
Hmm.
Now it's one thing if you was really sweet on dude and you
Hmm.
you on the slide like the attention. That's something
Hmm.
totally different. But if it was really on the up and up and you're like, man, I ain't even doing nothing, this dude just feeling some kind of way. There ain't really no problem. And I'm blowing up this relationship that I don't really have friendship. I don't really have to blow up.
Mm-hmm.
Doing that over time, especially with what we talked about earlier, if you're consistently doing that to make me feel comfortable, at some point you're gonna be like, I'm the one blowing up everything so that you can feel right. I'm tired of doing that.
That's where I think the negotiation comes in. If you are consistently having to do that,
Hmm.
that's where the negotiation comes in, I think.
Okay.
First, you got to have that conversation. This is all seem like I'm doing all the work here.
Hmm.
And yes, this is a relationship between me and my ex. However, it's nothing going on. You know where I'm at all the time. You know, you hear the conversations we have on the phone or whatever.
Hmm.
You can tell that it's on the up and up. I know that you know that it's nothing going on.
Hmm.
So, how do we fix your insecurity?
Yeah.
That conversation has to be had
Let me ask
first.
let me ask you this before we get out of here because we're not gonna be on here long. So put you gonna have, if you don't put your 2 cents in now, you're gonna have to put it in, in on the replay. Um, if the person's married,
Mm-hmm.
does that ease things up a little bit? So if
Not
I'm
to me.
no, so if I'm good friends with my ex and my ex is married, I'm good friends with my ex, whether it's an ex or ex spouse, whatever. It's spouse in the title, but
Mm-hmm.
and they are married. So now it's not like I'm just out here just kicking it with her.
Right.
Like if she comes to the house, her husband's gonna be with her too. Or if we go to lunch, it ain't gonna be with just her. It's gonna be with him, which now
Am
just
I
by
going to?
default, right? Just by default
Then
includes
I'm
you,
going to.
right?
In
Is that
in
different?
in that case, it might be a little bit different because it's not just the two of you.
Okay,
So I feel like in that case, it might be a little bit different. But is it always that? Is that always the case? You know what I mean?
maybe it is, maybe it isn't.
Hmm.
I don't know. Girl on Fire. Shout out to Girl on Fire. Girl on Fire said, "If it's not good for us,
Then
then it's
it's
no
no
good."
good. That's what I said.
Okay.
Not in so many words, but
Okay.
that's what I said.
All right.
Yep.
And so here's the reason why I asked about if the person's married, because I think that goes back to how we process terms. So if when I asked you about if the word X sends us
Mm-hmm.
somewhere,
Yeah, I think it does
and now the word marriage kind of smooths it out,
a little, a little.
which means, and I'm just playing devil's advocate here, which means there ain't no problem with you having friendships with your exes. That's really
There
what it boils
is
down to.
no,
That's really
no,
what it boils down to.
no. It's not.
Because we feel some kind of way based on titles and how the titles make us feel.
Mm-mm.
Me going out with my ex by herself raises a red flag,
Of
even if
course it
there even if
does.
there's nothing going on. But us going out with my ex and her husband don't raise a red
Of
flag.
course it does not raise a red flag because you're not by yourself with this person.
Does that mean you don't trust me?
It might mean that.
See,
Or
that's
no,
but
not
then that's the problem. It's
no,
not the friendship.
no, not necessarily. Maybe I don't trust her. Maybe it's that I
Okay.
don't trust her. Maybe it's not
Okay.
that I don't trust you. I
Mm-hmm.
might trust you completely,
Mm-hmm.
but maybe I don't trust her. And maybe, like you said, she's waiting in the wings for
Okay.
any little thing, any little hiccup, so that she can be like, oh, tell me what's going on. I'm here
Mm-hmm.
for you. Talk to me.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to me.
So,
What's going on?
so let me ask you this. You a mess. Let me ask you this. So, what if I say I don't want to blow up this friendship? Here's what I'm proposing, because you talked about negotiation.
Mm-hmm.
Here's what I'm proposing. You watch, and if you see something, I'll make an adjustment. If I say, listen, there is nothing going on. This chick is not feeling me. I'm not feeling her. We have a very different relationship now than we did when we were quote unquote trying to have a relationship,
Yeah.
right? Sex is out of the picture. All the other foolishness we were dealing with is out of the picture. We just actually really cool now, and we weren't cool then.
Right.
Now, I don't want to blow that up, but because I respect the fact that you came to me with how you feel, watch.
That's negotiation. But if I watch, I might see something that to you is still nothing.
True.
So you got to
That's
stand on your word. You said if I see something and I bring it to you, then you'll do something.
yeah, but maybe we negotiate that too. Like, don't be like, oh, she had on a red dress today, and red means sex. No, 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 no. Stop. We can't. We're not doing that. Like, we're not doing. We're not doing. We can't do that. Like, it's got to make sense,
Yeah.
right? And so I think and that just goes back to couples having a conversation.
Right.
I think that's a conversation you should have,
Agreed.
because then if you don't know what can happen.
Mm-hmm.
Insecurities, bad decisions,
Mm-hmm.
resentment, the whole nine, right? I
Mm-hmm.
think all of that comes in into play. Yeah, I think these are conversations that
Look
should
at our
have.
doctors here. The
Doc
threesome.
Parks. Doc Parks is in the building. Doc Parks, yeah, we about to jump off in a second, man. But here's what we were talking about. The title is my ex spouse is now my best friend.
Mm.
Is that a problem? My ex spouse is now my best friend, and Nisi and I've been kind of going back and forth, and I'm jokingly playing devil's advocate, but I kind of do mean this. I think if we take all of our insecurities and throw them in the garbage, there is no problem with that relationship.
Why? Why do we have to throw our
I'm not saying
insecurities in the garbage
mhm.
instead of working them out?
No. I'm not saying we shouldn't work them out, but I'm just saying if let me rephrase it. If there was no insecurity around this at all,
Mm-hmm.
and foolishness, there's no foolishness going on. Let's take all the negative scenarios off the table. She ain't trying to get with me. I ain't trying to get with her. We don't have no romantic desires. We are actually cooler now.
Mm-hmm.
And some people say this, and sometimes people don't get it, but it is possible. Sometimes you really can be more cordial and cool and in a better friendship now than you were then.
Mm.
So let's take all of the negative off. There's none of that going on. There's nothing that I'm doing, saying, nothing she's doing, saying that's putting you in a position to feel like something's shaky. If we take all of that off the table and there are no insecurities, there is no problem with somebody being good friends with their ex.
I agree. If there's no insecurities, then there's no problem.
And again, I'm just playing devil's advocate because I don't know that to be the case,
Mm.
but that's how I feel.
Yeah.
Let's see what some comments are kind of popping in. So let's see. Girl on Fire said, "Priest, females can be so malicious
With
with hidden
hidden
motives.
motives.
Somehow men don't get that part." I agree with that. We are oblivious to some things. I would agree with that. Sometimes though, and I'm not throwing men under the bus, but I'll speak for myself. Sometimes it's not that we're oblivious. Sometimes we ignore it under the guise of being oblivious,
Mm.
knowing what it is, but we just are trying to stay safe, or for one reason or another, we trying to ignore it. Doc Park says, "Is it
It is a problem if y'all make
if
it a
y'all make it a
problem.
problem?
Yeah. Mm.
If you make it a problem?"
It comes
Natasha,
down to Natasha Vincent says, it comes down to trust in your spouse's discernment and understanding the intentions of the ex. Is what we talked about before.
mhm.
They need to answer why they need each other as bestie. That's what I was going to ask. Why is this relationship so important to you that you're saying, uh, if you're saying that it's important to you? Why is it so important to you?
I mean, why is any friendship important to you?
Mm.
And that goes back to the word X. It's just the word X. And again, for those of you who don't know me, I'm always going to play devil's advocate. I'm not necessarily saying that I believe or don't believe this, but why is any friendship important to you?
Mm.
And if the label X, if the two letters X is not in front of that person, then we wouldn't even be having this discussion.
Yeah, maybe not.
I don't know. Maybe not. Um,
Well,
Girl on
she
Fire
needs
said,
to befriend your wife as well.
I'm with that. I'm with that. I'm with that. Doc Park said the question is,
What
what prevented
prevented you
you all
all?
from being friends when you were together? Are children involved? So Doc, you're covering all the bases. Let's say children aren't involved. And like I was telling Nisi earlier, sometimes think about relationships that um, start off with sex. There wasn't no real friendship formed anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And we find ourselves in some level of foolishness and realize because we don't really have a bond outside of the bedroom,
Yeah.
we ain't no good together. We break up and then realize, wait a minute, okay, now we've actually had a decent conversation and you actually a cool person.
Yeah.
So let's stay here as opposed to where we were.
Mm.
Right. So just could be something like that.
Natasha says, I'm cordial with my ex. We were together for 18 years and we talk often because of the kids. The gentleman is not my bestie.
I
Exactly.
I
Why do
respect
we
that.
have to be
I
besties?
respect these, not in capital letters.
The gentleman
Not.
is not my bestie.
Like, let's be clear.
Now, this is what I wanted to get to.
No insecurities. Good luck with that.
Doc Park says no insecurities, question mark. Good
Mhm.
luck with that. Doc,
Okay.
are you saying that insecurities, like every couple has some level of insecurities, or every person, every spouse has a level of insecurity?
I would say the answer to that is yes. I would love to hear what Doc says, but I'm gonna tell you
Wow.
my answer to that is yes. The
Every
the person, even the person who claims that they have no insecurities, I promise you something will come up that brings it out.
hmm.
Something will come up that brings
Wow.
it out.
Steph says, maybe they were best friends before. If so, would it still be wrong for them to go back to that after their relationship that didn't work?
If they were best friends before.
I'm
I,
trying to.
I don't think it would be wrong if they were best friends before and they're like, you know what, let's cross the threshold from best friend into relationship, and then realize, man, we suck at that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let's
Oh, I
let's
see
back.
what she's
Yeah,
saying.
let's
Let's
back
go
off of
back to
that.
being best
Right,
friends because the relationship, it ain't gonna work. If we're
right,
together, we're
right.
better as friends.
Mhm.
Mm.
Which is a which although it sounds, listen, those of you who are, this is your first time being introduced to us, just take me with a grain of salt. I say stuff just because I'm a shotgun communicator. But here's the thing: the statement "we're better as friends" sounds ridiculous.
But
It
it's
sounds like a cop out, so that you can still be around a person. But in actuality, there are some people who really are as better as friends.
mm.
There's some people who are better as friends. There's
Mm-hmm.
some people who should not be sleeping together. They
Wow.
should not be trying to become one at anything.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing.
Mm-hmm.
They're much better just hanging out and being cool.
Wow. Yeah.
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 I do agree that that's the case.
Eddie Dwayne Rose says
Ab-
absolutely. And I think
absolutely.
he's saying
About the
absolutely
insecurities, probably.
right
Mhm.
to every spouse has a level of insecurity.
Listen,
Wow.
I can tell you right
I
now.
mean, I know I have mine. I'm
Mhm.
pretty sure that I have mine, but I thought that it was me.
No, it's
I
not.
didn't think that every spouse
I
most likely has a level of insecurity, because I'm always like, I want to strive to be that spouse that has
mhm.
no insecurities.
But here's the thing: it's so I don't think it's that they have no insecurities. It's that they know how to manage them in a way that doesn't cause them to act. The only reason we know that people have insecurities is because they do foolishness in the name of their insecurity.
Oh, okay.
You would never know that I was insecure if I didn't come to you and say I feel some kind of way,
Mhm.
or I start acting funny
Acting
around the
out
other person, or
about it.
right. You wouldn't know
Yeah.
because I could just look at y'all together and be like, in my mind, I'm like, yeah, she used to sleep with dude, but
Mhm.
never say anything, never act crazy,
Yeah.
never be
Mhm.
in my feelings, never be been out of shape. So you
Mm.
would never know.
Mm. Okay, let's see this. Here's our answer. Everyone has insecurities. Insecurities are based out of myth and fear. Example: Denise goes out or on a girls' trip with her friends, and they are man bashing. Girl, all men are dogs. The myth is all men, and the myth is all men. And Denise has fear because she has a man at home.
Hmm. I get that.
Mm,
I think we all are.
yeah.
Even the person who says they're the strongest, there's something that will come up that at least will make them think. Now, the difference is that one person may act on it,
Mm,
the other person may not.
mm-hmm,
One person may be able to manage it, recognize it, and filter it and do what they need to do with it so that you never are touched by it.
mm-hmm.
Whereas the other person is now saying all type of
Right.
foolishness and being passive aggressive and all this
Yeah.
kind of nonsense. So you know they something's wrong,
Mm.
right? You know something's wrong. Girl on Fire said, "Is it him and me or us and we?"
The only relationship that should take precedence over a spouse is that with Christ Himself.
I can't fight with you. I can't fight you on that one.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now, with what you just said,
Is it him and me or us and we?
right? So if the relationship takes precedence, that's a red flag.
Correct.
Period.
Correct. Correct. Correct.
There, there's no comeback on that.
And
Can't
that
fight that at all.
and that's why I said, why is this relationship so important to you?
But yeah, it's not more important. I'm talking about me and you now. It's not more important than you. Something can be important to you, but if it's more important than you, that's a problem.
Mhm. Correct.
That's and maybe that goes back to, hey, you need to watch. Because now if I'm doing stuff for her that I don't do for you,
That's a big problem.
if I'm confiding in her and I ain't
Not
confiding in
confiding in
you,
me. Yeah.
now we moving into some we moving into some cut you territory.
Mm.
I get that.
Yeah.
I'm with that. I'm
Yeah.
with that. Uh, Adriana,
Adriana Rashawn Elaine
what's up, Adriana?
says, "Hey, Adriana." Says, "Best friends, no, but a lot of my exes are my friends. I don't give space for question or fear."
Okay,
Okay.
I'm with that. So I put best friend in the title for a reason. Those of you who know me, I kind of use words that I think are I hate that word triggering, but that's the only word I can think of right now. What defines, and you don't have to answer this, I'm just throwing this out in the air. What defines a best friend? How do you know if this person is my best friend as opposed to my good friend? Just curious. I don't know. I don't know if there's an answer to that question. Doc Park says sometimes we
Feed.
feed insecurities and may not know it.
Mhm.
Insecurities don't necessarily come from past boyfriend girlfriend relationships. It could come from mom, dad,
Yes,
teacher,
yes, yes,
relative,
yes,
etc.
yes.
Agreed.
Yep.
Agreed. I think it's a
Yeah.
great conversation to have. So
Mhm.
those of you who know us already know we're proponents of conversation, right? And I think it's important to have these conversations. Like somebody asked, it was a while back. Somebody asked, why would you even talk about this with your spouse? Why would you
Why
not?
would you not? You should be able to talk
I
about
mean,
any
just
and everything.
just because you don't necessarily want to be in that scenario doesn't mean you shouldn't know how to go about that scenario. God forbid if it come up.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Krista just got in. Let's go. Man, we tired, bro.
Ronald Hawkins.
we about
That's
yeah, that's
Chris.
Chris. Yeah,
Okay.
we about to dip out of here in a second. But that's you should be able to talk about this stuff,
You should.
right? Because, and I say this all the time, conversation is a catalyst
Catalyst
for
for growth.
learning and growth.
Yeah.
So now that I know certain things, we know how to work together should those things happen, right?
Ooh, look what
David
David
Kennedy.
said. Your wife is your best friend. Is she
Ah,
though?
okay, David, open up a can of worms. Here we go. Your
Your
ex
ex-spouse
spouse.
should be involved if you have children. I
Yeah,
agree with
I'm
that.
with you. I'm with you on that.
Co-parenting, I
Yeah.
agree with that. However, oh, you're welcome, David. He said, "Thank you, fam, for my t-shirt."
Appreciate you, man. Thank you for your support, man. Blessings on you, man. That's dope. Thank you for I missed that comment. Thank you for that, bro.
Hmm.
Appreciate you.
I don't know if maybe this is a whole nother topic.
Okay.
Does your spouse have to be your best friend?
Does your spouse have to be your best friend? David said yes, yes, and yes. I think he's answering that question.
Hmm.
Doc Park said best friend, a person the
A person
that will
that will
be
be
there
there
during
during
your
your
BS
BS and
and
call
call
you
you
on
on
your
your BS.
BS.
Yeah, so my ex can do that. Why not? If somebody else can do it, so can they. Which goes back to the question now: the X is what's bothering folk.
Hmm.
Maybe. And again, I'm just pushing the envelope.
Hmm.
Let's be clear. I'm just pushing the
I
envelope.
oh, appreciate you too, David. Thank
Appreciate you
you.
too, fam. Thank you.
I've heard people say that I got a best friend, and I'm saying like me, a female best friend.
Mhm,
You know my two best friends,
mhm,
Frida and Cheryl. But some people say my spouse is my spouse and I love him. My husband is my husband and I love him, but he's not my best friend.
mhm. And that
I've
causes
heard that before.
a lot of contention when that comes up because people feel like it should be your best friend. Natasha said my first time here, subbed in within 2 minutes.
Subbed within 2 minutes. It's always nice to
Appreciate you.
see a mature couple talking. Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Natasha.
Looking
That
forward
means a
to
lot.
seeing more of your
Thank you.
content. Thank you
That means a lot. Thank you. Thank you for subscribing. We appreciate you.
very
And
much so.
yes, you will see
Thanks.
more from us. This happens almost every Saturday night, but there's more things coming.
We're
And
revamping a lot
yeah,
of
we're
our
revamping a
shows.
lot of stuff in quarter 2. So thank you. We appreciate you for that. Rose said, "Is your spouse your best friend really? And if not, there is a
There is a
problem."
problem. Hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah, I've heard people say I have best friends. My spouse is
Mhm.
not my best friend.
Steph
Steph said,
said,
"What do you guys think?
mhm.
Curious. Do you have to be best friends since you're married?"
So
It's kind of hard for me to think otherwise because we are.
David said major problems.
Hmm.
So
If the definition of best friend is what Dr. Park said,
mhm.
a person that will be there during your BS and call you on your BS, then yeah, I think your spouse should be your best friend.
So let me say it this way. So you and I are best friends. And part of that is because of the kind of relationship we had before we
Before
got
we got
married.
married, we were best friends
Right.
before.
And part of that is because, and I'm not being facetious when I say this, but part of that is because I don't have a lot of friends. So just by default, there are some things that I probably would say to another guy that I say to you because the other guy's not there.
So if that were to happen, think about it.
Hmm.
Would I be another best friend?
So, and here's why I said all that. I don't believe that your spouse can or maybe even should be your only best
Best
friend.
friend. I agree. You know why I agree with that? Because I feel like there are some things that you might be able to say to one best friend but not the other.
Mm.
Maybe not. Now that I think
I
about
feel
it.
like I should be able to say everything to you.
Ye-
However, and I understand what you're saying. Here's the however, and I think this may be where you were going.
mm,
However, there are certain things that I might be able to say to a dude, and because he's a guy, the perspective allows for a different level of conversation than I would have with you.
yeah, I think that's where
But
I
I
was
should be
going.
able to come to you with it though.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. That's where I was going.
Let's see. Doc said, if your spouse is your best friend, why is there a discussion
Discussion
on
on
should you share with them? Don't you share with your best friend everything? Yeah, I
yes.
agree.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Doc is
Doctor
on
is
point.
right on point.
Um,
That to me can be my friend, period, not necessarily my best friend, because I'm not befriending anyone that
that
can't
can't do
do
that.
that.
That's a good point.
That's true. That's
That's
true,
a good
Steph.
point. That's a good point.
That's true.
Can you have more than one best friend? Yes, I think you can.
Yes, I do. We have male friends, but I associate the wife as best friend to Proverbs
According to
31:11.
Proverbs. Okay.
Yeah. I get that.
And here's the thing. What we're not going to do is say that there's a right or wrong way to do
Correct.
this.
Correct.
Yeah. Rose said, love this. Appreciate that, bro. It's the levels of
Of
conversation.
conversation. Maybe that's what I meant about telling everything.
Mhm.
Maybe I think that's what I might have meant.
The levels of
Levels of
conversation.
conversation.
Okay.
Because this isn't my story
Mhm.
with Frida and Cheryl, but I know that there are best friend groups of best friends. And when I say groups, I mean like it's just the three of us, me,
Mhm.
Frida, and Cheryl.
Mhm.
And this doesn't happen with us, but I know that it happens with others where they'll say stuff like, I know you can relate more because, for example, Denise is more emotional and you know she's going to fly off the handle if I told her that
Mhm.
XYZ happened. You know what I mean?
Mhm. I know what you mean.
So, in that regard, there are levels. Like, it's not that I can't say any and everything to my two best friends, but I might know that one of them is going to fly off the handle and blow things out of proportion and go looking for people to shoot down,
Mhm.
so to speak. Do you know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
Whereas the other one can talk me off the ledge, you
Mhm.
know?
Mhm.
So, in that regard,
I get that. I get that.
yeah,
Girl on Fire said, unless the best friend
is
is
the
the same
same
sex
sex or
or of a different
different
sexual
sexual
orientation,
orientation,
then I
then I
can
see
see
it
it being
being
a
a
problem.
problem.
Hmm.
Mm.
Interesting. Girl on Fire, tell me more about that. Tell me more
I mean,
about
I
that.
guess that goes back to the whole insecurity thing, maybe.
Now, here's a great question, and I think that tags on to what Stephanie said.
If all your friends aren't
Aren't
best
best friends,
friends,
what are
what
they?
are they?
So, yeah. So now we go into that takes us down a whole nother road because now it's the categorization thing, right? So acquaintances,
Right.
associates,
Associates. Mm-hmm.
da 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 da,
Mm-hmm.
right? But I think all of that, the best friend conversation is spun off of the fact that in the title, I say my ex spouse is now my best friend,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
which means there are going to be a lot of stuff that I say to you that I will probably say to her because she's our best friend.
Mm.
Now, where people will get scared is that if my best friend is a woman and my best friend is my wife, who is also a woman's perspective coming from two different women could potentially be a problem.
Yeah.
Now I'm muddying the waters on purpose, but that could potentially be a problem, right? Girl on Fire said, I know lots of females who
Who have
have guy
guy
best
best
friends
friends who
who
engage
engage
with
with
males. I
males.
do too. Yeah.
Yeah. Doc said, I think we need to remember in all of this the word trust. Without
Mm.
trust, there's no friendship relationship. It's hard for us to think of any of our close relationships with folks we don't trust.
True.
And interesting you would say that because
True.
earlier on, Doc, before you got on, when Nisi and I were having the conversation, that was a question I asked. So with all of this that's going on, is it really that you don't trust me and not that that there's something wrong with the relationship? But is it that you don't trust me?
Mm-hmm.
So trust is important.
Mm-hmm. Steph says to Doc Parks, just friends, lol. I have friends and then I have best friends. I'm not having the same convo or confiding in all my friends. For example, I'm not having the same convos I'm having with my friend Jada with other friends. Our friendship is way deeper than other friends. Okay, I understand that. Yep.
So you have friends and best friends. Those are two different categories.
Categories.
There's
Mm-hmm.
levels to friendship.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So if there are levels to friendship, going back to our original thing, my ex spouse can be my best friend.
Okay.
And you should be okay with that,
Okay.
even though you're not.
Okay.
Oh man.
Oh.
Okay. On that note, we're getting out of here, folks. On that note. So we appreciate you.
Nope, nope, and nope.
Dave,
No way.
David said this. It ain't going down like that. David said we don't get down like that. We don't do that. We don't do that. Listen, we appreciate you, fam. If this is your first time here, like Natasha, thank you for being here. Rose, Rose said, "Don't do it, oh." Hey, listen, man. I'm smart. I only play devil's advocate here, but I'm walking the line the way I'm supposed to. And we have conversations.
We do.
So there's things that I know already, that we kind of talk about. So maybe it's not that they don't trust you. It could be they don't trust the situation and feel that a conversation or meeting up with an ex is a setup for failure. And that's kind of what you were talking about.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not that you don't trust me, but you don't trust the situation or the other person.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So it could be. Listen, have these conversations, folks, because
Mm-hmm.
we can tell you that we often sit in front of couples who we have the privilege to serve, and things will come up. They
Yeah.
will bring things to the table that we need to flush out. Often, my first question to them is, have you all talked about this?
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times people say no.
Yeah. Yeah.
And in my mind, and even to some couples, I have said, okay, well, what do you expect me to do?
Mm.
Like, can we talk about it first? Like, how about we hear what everybody has to say?
Right.
And
Yeah.
you might come up with a solution.
Right.
So I think conversation is a catalyst for growth. It's a catalyst for learning. It's a catalyst for bonding.
Mm.
Sometimes we talk about stuff and we end up laughing and joking. Even if we disagree, we end up laughing and joking, and that laughter is a bonding agent for us.
You know what? That reminds me of something my therapist friend Siobhan said,
Mm-hmm.
and also something that was confirmed today. One of our friends where we were tonight, my sister basically, said that the level, like the relationship now with her spouse,
Mm-hmm.
has deepened, and that this past year they've had to have some really tough
Yeah, conversations.
conversations.
Mm-hmm.
And my friend Shiv, who's a therapist, was just saying that you have to dig through that,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to go through having those tough conversations, or going through you have to work through the tough parts,
Mm-hmm.
because on the other side of that is growth. And she wasn't necessarily talking about marriage, but overall, she could have been and she might not have been. She didn't specify.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to go through those tough spaces
Mm-hmm.
in order to get to the other side. And the other side of that is growth. And the other side of that is where you begin to thrive. And so I just say all of that to say, like what you were just saying, have those tough conversations.
Mm-hmm.
They're uncomfortable. Yes. Let me turn on this fan because I'm
They
having
are
a hot
they
flash.
they are uncomfortable.
They're uncomfortable, yes, but
Mm-hmm.
they need to be had so that you can learn from them and you can grow from them. You get tougher from them for the next tough situation.
Mm-hmm.
It even says something to that effect in the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it'll make you stronger for the next
Mm-hmm.
tough thing that you have to go through.
Yeah.
And it's also a bonding agent.
Yeah. I agree.
So tough it out. Have those tough
Have those
conversations.
conversations. It's
You're
important.
not having those tough conversations for nothing. Can you imagine having a really hard conversation and not coming to some level of agreement or some level of understanding? Can you imagine going through something that's tough and painful, and then on the other side of that, you didn't learn anything
Mm.
or you didn't grow from it? It's always for growth.
Yeah.
It's always, or it should always be for growth. These
Mm.
tough spots in your relationships, these tough conversations. I ain't no therapist, but I just feel like got to go through those things.
Got to go through them. Got to go through them. I saw your comment, Rose. Blessings and good night. to you as well. Girl
Mhm.
on Fire said, "Did we come to a conclusion here? Is it acceptable or not?" So,
We're not here to give advice.
so here, and Girl on Fire, I think this is your first connection with us. Thank you for being here.
I
First
don't
of
think
all,
it is.
it's not
I don't think
okay.
so.
If it's not, forgive me. I don't recognize the name though for some reason.
Maybe it
So here's the
maybe it
thing.
is.
What we don't do on Saturday night is tell you exactly what you should do.
Mhm.
You might get some advice, you might not, depending on the topic. This is really just to get people sparking the conversation amongst
Conversations with them
themselves.
with their spouse. Yeah.
Because here's the thing, to answer your question, it might be good for some,
I was going to say,
it might be acceptable for some, and it might not be for others.
I think that the answer to that is relative to
Yeah.
you and your spouse and your relationship, because what works for us and what we say is acceptable might
Mhm.
not be acceptable to the
Yeah.
next couple.
I think
So,
I think it's dangerous to give a blanket statement to
right.
couples and say you should not have these kinds of relationships with friends or exes, because there are some people, their maturity level can handle that.
I don't even
And
know if it
they've
has anything to do with maturity, but go ahead.
I think there's a couple components. I think maturity level. I think the amount of how well built up the relationship, the marriage is itself. How much do we connect? How much have we become one?
Mhm.
How much do we know each other? How much have we talked?
Mhm.
How much do we check in?
Mhm.
How much accountability do we have between us? How much do I let you cover me and vice versa?
Mhm.
Can allow you to walk through these scenarios a little bit better than the couple who doesn't do none of that,
Right.
right? And
Agree.
and the couple who doesn't do none of that, it doesn't necessarily mean they're a
Mm.
bad couple. They just may have not matured to that level. Hmm?
Sorry. Go ahead.
What did you say?
I said, yeah, that grammar.
What did I say?
It was like nails on a chalkboard. The couple who doesn't do none of that. Go ahead.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
yeah,
Go
that's
ahead.
that's just me. I'm not an English teacher,
Neither
so.
am I.
but that's kind of how we do that here. We want to we what we do here is kind of throw the topic up in the air, let everybody take a swing at it, and hopefully people take these conversations and spark them,
Mm.
especially with those who have significant others or spouses.
Mhm.
So that's kind of what we do. Now, having asked that question is a great opportunity to share this. And Natasha said she's looking forward to more content. More. Here's where we do give actual advice.
Mhm.
We did one season of Inside the Relationship. Season 2 of Inside the Relationship is coming soon. We haven't set a date, but just be on the lookout. We're going to set a date and post it very soon. Inside the Relationship is all about relationships. And so
Mhm.
there you will get advice, and you will get conclusions, and you will get things that we feel are things that you should be doing to move the needle in your relationship. That's one of a few things that's coming up. Our podcast is going to restart as well.
Mhm.
Relationship Trade Secrets is coming back, which is the audio podcast. So be on the lookout for that as well. All right. Uh, that's all we got today.
Mhm.
Natasha said another factor is comparison.
Comparison. Wanting your spouse wanting your
Compersion. Is it compersion or comparison?
wanting your spouse to be happy, but that's for another day because y'all said you need to rest.
we'll we'll
We'll
we'll
work
we'll
on
we'll
that.
yeah we'll
Yeah.
work on that. We'll work on that.
Wanting your spouse wanting your spouse to be happy.
Hmm. Wanting your spouse to be happy. Compersion is the feeling of joy when another person experiences joy, or the feeling of
Mm.
joy when seeing a loved one love another.
Mm.
It's the opposite of jealousy and possessiveness,
Huh.
and based on empathetic joy.
For example, you might feel compersion when your partner receives a raise or promotion, or when you see a toddler being happy.
Mhm.
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah. Tasha said, "What a cute picture of you two. We'll
Oh,
definitely
thank
listen to that
you.
podcast series." Thank you for that.
Thank you,
Thank you
Natasha.
for that. And there's a whole bunch of stuff on, since you just subscribed, Natasha. There's a whole bunch of stuff
On YouTube.
on YouTube as well that you can kind of play catch up with on us as we start to put back
Revamp some stuff.
new things on
Yeah.
there. So
Yeah.
love this. Thank you both. Thank you, Girl on Fire, for being
Thank
here.
you.
Listen, we're gonna get out of here. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday night. We'll be back next Saturday night with another episode of Have a Conversation After Dark. Like we say all the time, conversation is a catalyst for growth.
Mhm.
Conversation is a catalyst for learning.
Learning.
Conversation is a catalyst for bonding.
Yeah.
Go forth and be great. Have those conversations. Listen, thank you for being the best part of this. Thank you to all of you in the comments for sharing your perspective and 2 cents. You make this conversation what it is. We appreciate you.
Mhm.
Thank you. Blessings on you. And we'll see you next week.
Good night, everybody.
Later.